in Australia, the Hydrowave featured a subsurface barra. What the fuck does that sound like?
Hello everyone, welcome to The Deep Drop, the fishing podcast that takes a little bit of a different view on the wonderful world of fishing. Luke McCredden is my name, and with me as always, Adam Ring. And Adam, what we like to do is tear apart recreational fishing, but not in a bad way. But I'm going to throw to you because I just, as always, and everyone who listens to this and has put in time listening to it, we appreciate it, but they will know that I've got absolutely no idea when it comes to trying to explain what this podcast is about. So Adam, take it away, my friend.
Well, Luke, what we do on this podcast, we take all of the little questions that we've all asked as fishos 101 times. And what we'll do is we will pick them apart, maybe throw a few curveball ideas at you just to get the juices flowing a little bit. But ultimately, we're kind of fishing for your feedback. So you being the listeners out there, we're trying to equip you with enough information, good, bad, or indifferent, for you to form an opinion on what the answers to these questions could be, because this is a beautiful pastime. It's a beautiful sport, if you will, but you'll never master it. You'll never clock it, and there's no such thing as a wrong answer. We'll try and get some really good info that will give you more tools to catch more fish, but at the end of the day, we're having a bit of fun. We're going to throw some weird stuff at you to see if that leads to something else. But ultimately, we don't know if this show's any good unless you get involved and let us know what you think, because it's an opinion-based show.
It is, and it's always also a learning, and not just for I don't mean that by we're giving instructions for you to learn. Absolute opposite. We're quite often, more often than not, learning from the feedback we're getting from you on Instagram. A lot of private messages come through, which is awesome, but feel free and feel open to chuck them in the comments of some of our posts as well, because it's the Deep Drop family. We're all a community, ads. There's no we don't tolerate. We've got a zero dickhead policy at the Deep Drop, don't we?
Yeah, well, there's only enough room for two dickheads on this podcast, and we host it.
The hosts.
So the dickhead meter's full. So leave that parked in the background and come forward with your great ideas, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Absolutely. This is what it's about. So thanks for jumping on board and staying on board if you hang in there.
Yeah.
Lots of great stuff. Lots of great stuff coming up, ads, and it's exciting time of year.
It is, and we're rapidly approaching summer, and I just want to say officially the snapper season looks like it's going all right. So that's a win. But Luke, we don't just talk about fishing reports and bits and pieces. We dive into the deep stuff.
It can be deep.
Luke, it's been a little while on this podcast, but I don't feel as though we've had a good tackle chat for a little while.
Ooh, okay.
So at this point of the game, there'll be something that comes out somewhere along the line. We'll all get pretty excited about it, and we just won't tear it apart. We'll try and get the people that were involved in the development of that to talk us through it. It's not kind of what I want to tackle on this program, but there's been insane amounts of technological advancements in recreational fishing. I don't want to talk about any of them.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about the ones that look like they were going to be a big deal and then just weren't.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've got one.
So we're not focusing on the wins, we're focusing on the losses.
This is definitely about the losses. Well, not so much losses. Some of them, one in particular I've got here, I reckon you could probably say is a complete loss.
Hey, nothing's a failure. It's just a learning.
It's a learning curve. And the other two, I feel as though there's been solid effort and they're pretty good, but probably not what we were expecting when it was first announced.
Okay, so we're talking tackle. We're talking about actual fishing tackle, yeah?
No, we're talking about tackle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lead off with, remember when rods first come out with Nano Technology?
Yeah.
Now, for all of those that don't quite understand what nanotechnology is in rods, basically it was a form of resin that filled all the tiny gaps between the graphite weave in a rod. That's the easiest way to try and explain it. Luke, you and I were both working in the tackle shop when Nano Technology first hit Australia.
Yes.
And we thought it was going to change fishing rods forever.
Well, from memory, it was going to be the next sort of biggest advancement since graphite.
Yes. Yeah. So this is still... So nano resin is where the nano part of it is. The graphite thing's different. That's come a long way. There's better quality graphites and bits and pieces. But, Luke, it just wasn't what we thought. And I think... I don't particularly think it was a technology failure. I think it was an industry failure, if I be completely honest. But at the end of the day, what this stuff did was make sure that a rod, which is round, stayed round no matter what you did to it.
Yeah.
When you get into some of the cheaper rods, as the rod loads, the fibres go into an oval shape rather than round, and that's when you start having issues with stress fractures and breakages. I think where the industry got it wrong, it was kind of released in entry-level rod ranges rather than being spread across a wide variety. So,
yeah.
And it was a weird one because Nano got to the point where there was nanotechnology in rods, and they just didn't tell you about it.
Well, that's true. It
just became the norm.
Fascinating one. I haven't thought about nanotechnology for probably the best part of 10, 12 years. And so you're kind of saying it should have been, or it could have been pushed to a higher end rod based on the technology and the spiel that you can give about it. You could go to market with it from a higher end point of view, because from memory it was
cover everything.
Yeah.
There was and all the major brands did it with Nano, whether it was Abu Garcia, whether it was Shimano, and were highly successful. There was even a rod brand that wasn't owned by the big mainstream manufacturers, and so Nano wasn't particularly a failure. I just don't think it lived up to the overall hype at which we all thought it was going to do to fishing rods. So not a complete failure. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. But it did. Yeah, it had the hype of the LeBron James draft.
Yeah.
But the result
was they took Darko number one.
Yeah.
Like it's that type of sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, not bad. Not bad. It's an interesting one. Is it still something that's used and featured?
Do you know, I dare say it probably is.
Or is it just it's just stock
standard? It's the norm.
Yeah.
It's the norm. It goes into and I could be completely wrong. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but I dare say it's probably used still significantly in like lower end rods, because it does add to durability, which is the biggest thing in those type of rods. So Nano, we'll put that in the but nah pile.
Yeah, but nah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
The other one I want to talk about, and I'm leading up to a crescendo here, Luke. There's a big one at the end, which I don't in a million years reckon you'd guess. But I quickly want to touch on tackle storage. The reason I say that is a wise man once told me, when it comes to tackle storage, no one's ever got it right. Have you ever, in the history of your fishing journey, with all of the gear that you've owned, played with, thrown out, dominated with, have you ever been able to organise it in a way that you go, that's exactly where it all needs to be?
Adam, let me just take a second, because this is weird. I wrote down something today that I wanted to bring to the show. And quite simply, I wrote down, have we nailed tackle storage yet? And this is fascinating that you've brought this up. I swear to God, I wrote that down today based on the fact that I was going through, I was just telling you off air, I just did a massive sort of overhaul of all my gear. I suppose organising and getting rid of bits and pieces I didn't need anymore. And the tackle storage part plays a massive role in, well, just that, like storing your gear and where how you store it and how you... And I was kind of going through and, trying to... I guess for me, it's like grab and go in my garage a lot of the time. So if I'm heading down the rivers to chase some trout for a day or afternoon or a few days, I know I can just go grab that, away I go. So I was kind of trying to set them up like that, even down to something as simple as metal slugs for hitting the beach, which I did this afternoon. And I'm like, I just need something simple to go. And that was where it sort of stemmed from, because I'm like, I've never been satisfied with tackle storage.
I don't think anyone has. And I'll just use one specific example. So take soft plastic storage.
Yeah.
And look at you and I were talking about this subject, but you had no idea it was going to be brought up on this podcast.
No.
But you showed me a zip up tackle wallet.
Yep.
Which has been around for soft plastics for ages.
Yeah.
It's awesome until it's not. Mm. The rings always bust on them. You can put as many soft plastics you want in it, and you can't zip it up. You're not happy with it's not quite there.
No.
It's not really that user friendly. I guess, when you're fishing, you're in the boat. It's weird.
This is amazing. This is amazing. Yeah,
you can't tip the plastics out into a standard tackle tray because you get some plastics that react with the chemicals in the tray itself.
Yep.
They're also no good mixed with other colours because some colours will bleed into others.
And some plastics need to stay in their juice.
That's right. So there's no beautiful way there. It just doesn't seem as though we've nailed storage. And that's just one example of soft plastics. Lures, everything gets friggin' tangled together. So you try and grab one lure and 65 others come out with it. 4 of them get stuck in your thumb and the rest get stuck in your shirt and you're not quite sure what the hell's going on after that. The one big advancement that I'll say I love, I actually don't mind some of these trays that are coming out now with that. It's kind of like a softish blistered material that's in it. And I've seen it for tackle, for jig head storage.
Yes. Yeah.
Because jig heads are a friggin' nightmare. They seem to always be able to jump over the top of the dividers.
How do they jump the dividers? It happens all night. Like it happens at night.
Does my friggin' head in.
When you're sleeping at night, they just get up and move spots. Yep. Fucking nightmare.
It's shit. So the little blistered ones, I don't mind, but I haven't mucked around with one yet, so I don't know if it's the answer. But it seems pretty cool.
I love this so much.
Tackle boxes are way too big and bulky.
Yep.
Tackle bags, the zips fuck up over time, and stitching starts coming undone because, unfortunately, majority of the stuff we use is fucking heavy, especially when you jam 12 boxes into a bag.
The thing with tackle bags too, a lot of them are designed around the tackle boxes that go in them.
Yeah.
But they've fucked up from the start because the boxes aren't right. So
yeah.
But I think, and I'm a bit of a sucker because I actually love tackle storage. As far as, and when I say that, I mean I love some of the new advancements that are coming, that's coming out, and some of the new models of bits and pieces that look great and seem to have everything you need. But I think it's more about the actual initial storage part. So whether it's soft plastics, like you said, I mean, there's nothing that I've ever found that I'm like, this is perfect.
Well, most are just buying Tupperware from Coles.
Well, I was going to say to you, the closest thing I've got to being really satisfied, and my good friends down at Pure Fishing have sent me a whole bunch of turtleback worms to use down here on the whiting, and I went and bought a Tupperware container. I think I don't know. It's one of those brands. The plastic containers with the clips. It's just a box. It's just a square container.
Yep, and it fits a packet of plastics in it, and you can flip through it easy.
No, I fit about 20 packets in there. Shut the lid, clip it up. The clips are strong, and that's it. And I'm like, I'm comfortable with that.
So great in a boat, bit of a prick in a kayak, but kayak's a different beast because you're so limited by what accessibility to storage is.
I think that's a whole other conversation.
That's a different thing.
For a boat, it's fine. Just chuck them in the boat, away you go. I think there's even things, and I mentioned it before, and I know it sounds silly, but like, have you ever been satisfied with a storage system for metal lures, like metal casting lures?
No.
Like, I know that sounds silly, so I'll just chuck them in a box. That's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fair. But you also need to be carrying them around because if you're on the move casting sort of off the beaches or even in a boat, I suppose, you need them accessible because you're constantly changing sizes, or you cast one off, or you get bitten off by a tailor, or whatever it is. I've been through all sorts of different tackle trays and little, because you only want them small sometimes.
That's right, because if you're just going to take a small, It's weird.
It's weird. I think one that's not bad and I'm pretty happy with are some of the eggy cases I've got for squid jigs.
I was just about to say, we kind of need those eggy style cases for something like metal slugs. Just one treble off the back, or if you change them to singles, you can just dig that into a little bit of that hardened foam.
Yep.
Little bit of a groove to sit them in.
Yeah, but wow, I mean, again, this is a great one. Like, I'd love to hear, have you nailed it? Like, have you nailed it? And whatever the sorts of lure, you might be a stick bait junkie and head offshore all the time, and you have nailed your storage system. Can you let us know? Like, tell us what you use.
Do you know what else is a sweet bit of kit storage-wise? The jigging cases. The ones that you can slide your jigs in. They have another little... They keep them organised and stuff. You can't fit a lot in them, but...
See, I went through a phase, and actually I still do. There's one just literally down here at the moment with like a wrap, like a jig wrap.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, you know how you do that with skirts sometimes. You might have it for jigs, and that's not bad, particularly if you are travelling a bit. You know, I know they were really handy for if you even on a road trip, but if you're jumping in a plane going somewhere, they kind of just, you know, become a little cylinder that yes, they weigh a ton, but
but that's gonna happen.
So that's not bad, but mate,
two other things that I can think of which storage doesn't cut it. Sinkers. Put them anywhere near a plastic tray of anything, and they just fly straight through the bastards. Like, it's not even a question. So they're a bit of a pain. And what about big swim baits?
That's a good one. That's almost...
I've seen a wrap style.
Yeah, I was going to say that's almost a wrap situation as well. But at the same time,
I've seen something designed for the big lures like that. But even looking at it on a shelf, you look at it and you go, "It's so big."
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, exactly.
By the time you chuck a few lures in it, you're not going to be able to roll it up.
Because I'm looking at I've got a couple of Plano boxes just down near my feet, and I'm like, they're quite the deep ones. So I've got a bunch of poppers and stick baits in. I'm like, they're not bad, but with those big swim baits, they're probably not even long enough. The depth is probably okay for a few to have 4 or 5 in there, but it might not be long enough. But I don't know, swim bait junkies, let us know. Tell us
how you're storing
them. But like a lot of people fish with soft plastics now.
Yeah,
get on and tell us. I'm going to put a tile on Instagram ads that simply says something along the lines of, "Have we nailed tackle storage?" and tell us.
I need some ideas because I can't work it out. It's a bit annoying.
I mean, they brought out, and they still might do them. There was spinnerbait boxes, weren't they? That was specifically designed for that. But
they seemed a bit weird, and maybe it's because I wasn't doing it right. But they seem to squash the spinnerbaits, and or some of them are okay, where you could just sort of balance it.
Yeah.
In the groove over the top.
What about metal vibes? And we've spoken about metal vibes on the show a number of times, but. You know, if you have any more than 4 or 5 together, they somehow just combine into one ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may as well just tie that on because they're never coming apart.
They're never coming apart.
Well, there's been those tackle boxes. They've been out for a few years that have got the sort of like a split foam in them where you can sort of jam them in by the treble and whatnot. But you know what it's like. You sit down and do it all properly and it looks awesome. The second you get out on the water, you just want to change lure. You don't put it back properly. You just chuck it back in there. Or if you're changing from a vibe to a hard body, the vibe ends up in the hard body box.
Oh.
And listen, that's not a storage issue. That's a people issue.
That's not a storage thing. That's a you thing.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know about the storage thing. I don't know what the answer is. And that's what annoys me.
Yeah, because even, I mean, like... I remember setting up, and I still have them set up this way. I've got boxes that might be a whiting fishing box and a snapper fishing box. So in the whiting one, you've got all the relative bits of terminal tackle you need. And that's not bad, I suppose, when it's something like that. I think what you're probably referring to and what I'm probably getting at as well is probably more along the line of lures. Terminal seems to be easier to store because it doesn't have a mind of its own.
Except for hooks, they end up in every fucking compartment except for the one that you originally put them in.
That's true. Well, yeah, funnily enough, I started, and I don't do a hell of a lot of bait fishing anymore, but I remember getting to the point where I just didn't take them out of their individual packets when I bought them. So I'd stick the packet in the tackle box.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're right, same deal. When you're not looking,
they end up everywhere.
they get out. Yeah, they get out. They escape.
and they end up with 6 different sizes in swivels, a couple of red beads, and
they
a Lumo
somehow,
bead, and 12 other sizes of hook. It's like,
and you'll have a 5.0 octopus hook with a crane swivel looped onto it that doesn't actually fit, so you can't get it off.
You can't get it off.
You have to crush the barb to get it off.
Oh shit!
It's incredible. It's such a great call. I'm so glad you brought it up. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I quite literally had it on the cards to bring up at some stage. That I don't think we've nailed storage.
No, we haven't. So jump on Insta and send your photos of how you store all your bits and pieces, because I'm keen to have a look. But Luke, I've been building towards this one.
Yeah, all right. So we've gone through a couple of things that haven't quite hit the mark for you, Ads, and I can see in your face you are ready to absolutely unleash.
I can't wait.
All right,
I cannot wait to talk about this one.
Let's hear it.
Remember the Hydrowave?
Oh my god,
the Hydrowave.
I do remember the Hydrowave.
So for those that aren't
now
familiar,
this is you need to unpack it a bit, but this is more. Can I just dumb it down and then you can explain it properly?
100%. And I just want to preface this whole thing by saying, for those that do know what a Hydrowave is, I don't think it's completely dead. I think there's a slight pulse, and I'll give you my reasoning why. But tell us what Hydrowave is.
No.
It's
well,
still
I
around.
just. It was probably a bit of a question as well, and making sure I'm on the right page. Is this the thing that sort of emitted sounds or frequencies or vibrations in the water that matched that of the bait fish in the area?
Yes. So it was an American thing. Essentially, you're mounting a speaker to the back of your boat, essentially like a transducer, and you can play a series of sounds depending on what you're doing. So I want to run you through the sounds of Hydrowave that was built for Australia.
It's okay.
And just let me know how excited you are, mate.
Was it doomed from the start?
Let me know. No. Because I'll read out the sounds first, and then we'll try and unpack this a bit. So, in Australia, the Hydrowave featured a barrabuff.
Okay.
Yep. A subsurface barra. What the fuck does that sound like?
Subsurface barra. What's he doing under there?
I don't know.
And how has anyone ever heard it to mimic it, record a sound that sounds like it?
If you're a barra fisherman, please let me know what that sound could be.
Subsurface barra.
A bony brim bait ball. Okay. Again, what does that sound like? Isn't it just a heap of brim balled up together real tight? Yeah. So there's a bony brim bait ball. There's a bony brim frenzy. I'm guessing that's some sort of feeding frenzy for bony brim. As
in they're getting fed on, or they're feeding themselves?
Feeding, I think. Feeding, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just like lots of yum, 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 yum.
Yeah. And my favourite. So we've had those first 4 that were all based around barra.
Yes.
And then you've just got a random mulloway croaking.
Mulloway croaking?
Yep.
Wow. What about the trevally grunting? Why isn't that, that in there?
So, if anyone's got a Hydrowave on their boat, please let me know if you think it's legit. Now, this isn't the one from the States. So in the States, it's all based around shad and
bass and shit.
Yeah, all that sort of business. But look, I don't think it's dead. I think there's a pulse. I think there's a pulse. And I think the answer could legitimately give an answer to a Hydrowave if it works or if it's complete gimmick. A Hydrowave in conjunction with live target.
Oh, wow.
So if you can pop your active target transducer on the pole down so that you can see what's happening, and then just cycle through some sounds and see if there's fish do anything. I don't know.
It's a great way to see if there's any reaction. This is going to be real dumb. So these are sounds, yeah?
Yeah.
Do we know that fish can hear?
Well, I'm sure they can hear something. I'm sure they can, but
isn't the whole setup of a fish the lateral line that feels and feels everything?
Yeah.
And reacts?
So there is a specific frequency.
Yeah.
That these are set to try and do all those things. But what I want to know is if a barra smacks something off the top, does another barra go, fucking heard that?
Fucking heard that.
There
I
must
want
be
some of that.
then I'm ready to eat.
Yeah. If you were to just crack open like a zinger burger right now, I'd be going, oh, fuck. I wouldn't mind that.
But are you smelling it, or are you just hearing
I'm hearing the crunch.
It's more if I crack a 4X at 7 a.m. You're going to go, ooh, wouldn't mind one of them.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fair call.
But so with a Dewey croaking, has any research been done at all
This
to
is
know
my question.
what are they doing? Like, is a Dewey croaking, is that the equivalent of, say, a hunter, like with a duck call or something?
Yeah. But okay. Well, this was going to be my question: is that where I'd love to see the research papers on all this, because a duck call or a deer call, it's all around the noises that these animals make at certain times of, breeding or whatever it is to attract said animal. Or there's the squeakers for foxes and that sounds like a distressed rabbit or whatever. That makes sense, total sense. But I'd be really keen to see the research that someone's done. Is someone under there with like a listening?
Because I can't help but think if Hydrowave was that good, it would be no different to having a sounder on your boat.
It would have taken off like the live scan, live scope, live target. Would it?
You just get it.
Yeah.
Or is it a thing we just haven't nailed the appropriate sounds, have the appropriate frequencies?
What's some of the sounds
I don't know, because I would fucking love to cruise past a pier one evening that's loaded with guys fishing for mullet and just flick the dew croak on and see if all the mullet just disappear.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, what does it do? Is there a snapper sound? Or is that the sound of a beer can being opened?
Yeah. Well, what would the sound be for snapper? Like a bait ball of pillies?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to relate it like a bony brim bait ball, so we could get a pilly.
Yeah, but I'm still confused at what that sounds like, because I mean, if we're going off the sound effects that they use in David Attenborough's documentaries, they know that's not real sounds, don't they? Like they understand that those sounds are fabricated in a sound studio somewhere in Hollywood. Like,
yeah. Well, one of them, I guess, would be showering bait, but I'm not sure if that's bait ball or frenzy.
Yeah. Showering bait, but I mean, I just think.
But
that's
showering
not
bait, can you just turn the
deck wash on?
Deck wash on?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that works. I mean, it's a fascinating one. Let us know. Is there anyone out there that listens to the Deep Drop? A, heard about this, and B, potentially used it or seen it in action, or know of someone who uses it. I'm going to say there's not many people in Australia using them, no ads, and even when they hit the market. I don't know anyone no, that's a lie. I know a couple of people, and they might have been the ones that brought them in, that used them, and
yeah,
I wasn't convinced, to be honest. It's a great one that's sort of come along and then lost.
So let us know about your Hydrowave, but also I want to take it a step further, Luke. If we were to recreate the Hydrowave, what sounds would we put on it?
Yeah, what sounds are we putting on the 2023 Hydrowave? What's it sounding like?
What does it sound like? I want a list of sounds.
Because, I mean, if in all honesty, if we're talking about the buffs and the bait showers and whatever, you'd have to think in a could there be actually, and this is sort of adding to it too, like obviously you're talking about them mounted to a boat. What about a handheld device that you can just pop in the water if you're on foot chasing bass? You know what I mean? Do you put in some insect sounds or like? Because for me, it's like the showering bait or the buffs and that aren't what probably would fire. Like, surely it's the noise of a frog swimming across the surface of of water that would encourage a cod to put its eyes up and start having a look. Or, you know what I mean? Because, maybe for cod, maybe for Murray cod, it's like the sounds of goslings.
Yeah. And you could argue the barrel, if you kind of get that naturally fishing a popper.
Yeah.
That sort of bloop. I know it's probably not as aggressive as a barra hit,
bloop.
but it gives the bloop, though.
Yeah, the bloop's already there. It's not bad. I don't know. It's a good... Yeah, let's open it up. Like what... Yeah, obviously the first question is, are you aware of this device and have you used it? But secondary to that is, what would be the 2023 version of sound that we need out there?
What do we need
on
our Hydrowave in 2023?
Wow. I've got no idea. I'd love to know if it's being used.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if it's being used.
All right. Well, there's a bit of homework there, Ads, and thank you for bringing all that to the table. Yeah, I just think that, just stepping back, obviously some fishing tech that didn't quite make it, and obviously some of that is.
And what did we leave out? What did we leave out?
There's a lot, and there's some that, like you said, it's not anyone's fault. A lot of the time, it's just not quite the right market. As we know, a lot of our key brands that we see in the tackle stores around Australia are global brands, so we don't always have the freedom to completely. Regionalize what we want. A lot of it's just stuff that we have to tack on from Japan or the US, which doesn't, all the tackle suppliers, yourself included, do their homework. They're not going to bring in stuff that's just a complete flop.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to take a punt. We've spoken about before on the show that I dived pretty deep into the waxwing movement, but didn't really get much traction, and nor did it really take off. Hence why it's not on shelves anymore. There's a whole. You could probably list off a fair list of lures ads, or lure styles and designs. But are we gonna put in a bit of a prediction and say maybe the muscle style lure is going to disappear into the ether in the near future? It was a pretty hot property, hot topic when it first hit the market. Is it still hot, or is it cooling? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good one. Is it the fact that it was a vibe disguised? You know what I mean? It's almost like a vibe dressed in drag, just to get people to. But it's just a vibe at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we leave it there. I think tackle storage we haven't nailed.
No.
We're just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So anyone listening who's in that market, we love you. But
the storage business.
Be better. Yeah, I mean, there's anything you think of that it didn't quite take off.
What
hit the market.
Hit for you?
Nano Technology, tackle storage needs work, Hydrowave.
Yeah.
Bang. All right, get on Instagram. That's the best place to do it. We love all the feedback. We'll sift through it. Teach us something. Tell us something that we've completely missed, or if we're completely barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah,
maybe Hydrowave's huge ads, and we just don't know about it.
Hey, stranger things have happened, Luke.
And as always, subscribe, follow the podcast. Spotify is always a good place to do it. It's nice and easy. You can just follow. It'll come up with a little blue icon to say there's a new episode out, and you can leave some comments there as well. But more importantly, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Ads.
Peace.